Hi, welcome to the second video of Flowering Memories. I hope that y'all got everything cut because that's going to make everything a little bit easier as we go on. So today we're going to be talking about how to make half squares. And I know a lot of y'all probably know how to do that, but this is kind of a skill builder, so I'm going to go through it pretty slowly. This is the kind of technique, and honestly, before this one, I never used this technique. I'm kind of a traditional girl when it comes to half square triangles. This is where you make 4 at a time. So we're going to make 4 half square triangles at a time. The most important step of this, I think, is going to be trimming them down. So that's why I've given 2 weeks for you to make all of these half square triangles, because I want to give you enough time to trim them down to the size they need to be. That way, when we start working on the construction of these blocks, you won't have to worry about, oh, I got to do the half square triangles, or I've got to trim that down, or I wish I had cut that off. We're going to get all of that done. That way, when we put these blocks together, it's a lot more fun and it comes together real smoothly. I kind of liken these steps to painting a room. So when you paint a room, it's all in the prep, right? And that's the same thing when you're constructing a quilt. It's kind of all in the prep. So right now, if we were painting the room, we would be cleaning the baseboards, wiping down the walls, and taping off. That's what these couple of steps that we're doing, that's kind of where when I think about it, that's the part of painting, right? So when we get all of this prep work done and we start putting the blocks together, that's when it's kind of fun, right? You get to start seeing it come together. So let's get started. I'm going to take you from the very, very beginning. So we're going to go over to the cutting board, even though we're not cutting right now. That way you can see every step that we take. All right, I'll see you at the cutting board. Okay. All right, I was trying to get the camera all set up, so I want y'all to be able to see me. Okay, so what I've gotten is the first background and the first fabric that they talk about in the pattern. These are the 2 pieces that we're going to need right now. I'm also going to use a friction pin. I'm going to use a rotary cutter that I need to cut, that I need to close. So we're going to use the rotary cutter. And I'm just using a smaller ruler. This is a 6.5 by 12.5 Creative Grids. And I'm going to tell you why I use this ruler in particular when we get to the trimming of the blocks. Okay, so the first step we need to do is set the main fabric aside. And I did give these a light press, not an iron, just a press, because I had everything in my box all labeled and stuff like that. So it got a little bit wrinkled, so I did press it just a little bit. All right, so we're going to take our square and we are going to draw a line on the diagonal from corner to corner. And this is why I use a friction pin. And I know some people say that the color comes back up if you heat or cool it and that kind of thing. You're going to be cutting this part off, so it does not matter. You could even use a ballpoint pen for this if you needed to. I just keep friction up here. All right, and then we're going to take and draw a line going the other direction. Okay, these give us the guide that we need. Sorry, I'm reaching for my pens. When we're sewing. So what we do is we put this one, and we're going to have right sides together. And you line that up. And I'm just going to give it a couple of little pins. I'm going to pin towards the outside. That way it does not interfere when I'm sewing. A couple little pins here. And what you're going to do is you're going to sew a 1/4 inch on this side, a 1/4 inch on the other side, and then you're going to do the same thing here. A 1/4 inch from this line on both sides. You're going to do it both directions. All right, meet me at the sewing machine. It is already time to sew. Okay, we are going to start sewing 1/4 of an inch. I have a FOF machine. Everybody has their own machine and how they do 1/4 inch, but I'm going to show you my 1/4 inch foot. Let's see, it's gonna not do. So mine, it does not have a guide on the bottom. It is just a simple 1/4 inch foot. That's what I'm using because I'm going in the middle of the fabric. I don't want that guide on the bottom to possibly bunch up the fabrics as we're sewing. All right, I am using a 2 for my stitch length. 2 or 2.5 is fine. Get my foot up. All right, so as you can see, I'm going to set my foot down. Let me do a needle down right on the edge of where this line goes down, and then I'm just going to sew. I'm not pushing, I'm just kind of guiding. And then I like to do, you know, the same line at a time. So I'm going to go down, line up with this line, and sew 1/4 of an inch down. And I'm going to stop and say you could, if you wanted to, chain piece this. You could set up all of the colors together and go down one row and just keep going, turn it around, go down the other way, turn it, do the other way. You could chain it, but I'm showing you how to do one at a time just in case chain piecing is a little new to you. There'll be other steps that we can chain piece. This one, I think it's nice to just for your first time doing this, to just do one at a time. Okay, we're doing the same stitch down on the other line that we drew. And you are going to sew over your stitch lines. And this comes together really quickly, but we have a lot to do. Again, why I gave you 2 weeks is so we can really take our time and make sure we do this correctly. All right. My machine takes a little while to cut. We have sewn, if you can see, down each, 1/4 inch down each side of that line. Yeah, you can see that. So now we're going to go back to the cutting table and we're going to cut this up. All right, here we're at the cutting board, the cutting mat, sorry, and we are going to go ahead and take those pins out. I am partial to magic pins. I really lately have really loved these magic ones. No, they're not a sponsor. All right, and we're going to line up our ruler on that cut line. So we're going to cut in between the sew lines directly on that line that we drew. So we're going to line that up as best we can. Get our ruler, and I found to help, even though creative grids have real good stick on the bottom to where they don't move, found if you keep your pinky off the side of your ruler, that kind of helps mobilize it. So I keep it kind of jammed up to the side, and we still stayed there. And I'm going to trim it, and we've cut that in half. Now you can, you know, put it back together or use a rotating mat. That would be good. So as long as you line that up and everything gets lined, you can cut them both at the same time. I don't feel comfortable with that, so I am going to do one at a time. We are going to cut on the drawn line. Cut. And we are going to cut on the drawn line. Did I do something wrong? I feel like I've done something wrong. This is not my, so on each side of the diagonal, cut the square in half both vertically and horizontally, and then cut along the diagonal lines to form 8 pieces. All right, well, we didn't do that. So now I am, all right, we didn't do that. So now I'm going to cut, we've got to do 8 pieces. So I'm going to line this up with the bottom of the square, with the bottom of the rectangle, and put that on the point. We should have done that. I did not follow the directions. Like I said, I am not as familiar with this technique, but it's okay if you did that, because you can line up your ruler with a line on, with the bottom line of the triangle, and move it over until that point just matches up, and then trim it. A little more work than the other way, but I think I'm getting a better cut on it than if I had done the other way. I think it's a little more accurate. So I actually don't mind doing it this way. Like I said, I'm a traditional half square triangle girl. Okay, now we've got our 8 triangles. I am going to meet you at the ironing board because I do want to show you how to press these if you have never pressed half square triangles before. All right, so let's head to the ironing board. All right, we are at my very stained ironing board. I looked at the camera and I'm like, whoa, this is pretty stained. I need to get a new cover. Okay, so when you open these up, they look so cute, don't they? They're just absolutely adorable. So you're going to iron to this side. So what you want to do is you want to give it a press to set your threads a little bit. Then you open up, and you very gently, what I kind of do is I kind of just give it a little press all the way to that seam, and then you open up. And we've pressed to the dark side, and that's what they talk about. You press to the dark side. And you do the same thing for all of these. You just open it up. I'm trying to not put my hands in the way so you can see. And you press. Set the seam, kind of give it a little angle, and press. And then you do that for all of these, right? I'm going to go ahead and knock them out real quick, and we'll go over trimming a few times, because I have found this makes for a very perfect half square triangle. It takes a while, I'm going to be honest with you, but that's why I'm giving you 2 weeks. Because like you see, we're going through this pretty fast. You can take 15-20 minutes and knock out 1 a day. Press the seam. Or take a couple of hours and knock out half, and then do another couple hours and knock out the other half. I think there's 8 total, maybe 9. And then you're done, right? But doing a marathon stretch of these, believe me, is not fun. All right, so pressing is done. All right, now that we have these all pressed, we are going to trim them to the size that it says in the book. All right. I don't have a square that's this size. So what you do, I think I'm going to take it to this one. Make sure that I'm doing the right size. I don't worry super hard about, yeah, I want it on this side. You're going to line this 45-degree line up with the line, your seam line. I only make sure that the size I need, I'm not getting too far out of that range, right? So I can't in the video tell you what size that is, but just make sure when you're trimming. And I'm going to straighten up these two sides at one time. So that's one side, and that's two sides. And now I'm going to make sure that we have the right size. So we are going to line this with the right size and this side with the right size, and then we can finish trimming. There's my 45 right there. All right, so now we are trimming one side and trimming the other. And you make such a large one so that you can trim down and get your exact size that you need. Okay, so there's one. Let's do that again. You just have to make sure you're within the size you need and get a good trim on one side and down the other. Then you turn it over, line up everything on that seam line, and then line it across and down. And then you're going to trim the edges off. And you're going to keep doing that for all 8 of these. And that is how you make 4, 8 at a time half square triangles. So you see the trimming is what takes the longest. This is where you're going to sit for a little while. So that is why I say, whoops, I didn't cut that other side. That is why I say it is better to do a few at a time. I mean, if you're hardcore about, I'm just going to knock it out, you go for it. But I get a little bit, it gets a little bit tedious trimming. So put on your favorite podcast, put on your favorite songs, and kind of have fun with it. All right, I think that's enough. I think y'all have the idea. You're going to continue to do this with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 more, so there's 9 total. That's what I thought. There was 9 total. So you've got 8 more sets. That is 64 half square triangles. That's why I say kind of break it up a little bit. It makes it not so monotonous. So again, all I used for this were the fabrics that I called for, rotary cutter, a 12.5 by 6.5 inch ruler. No rhyme or reason, it's just a smaller ruler, and a friction pin. And that's all you need for these half square triangles. All right, next time we get together, it'll be 2 weeks from now, and we will be doing the 4 patch blocks. So that's a lot of fun. And then we get to start making our blocks. And I don't know if you know, what we do with our scraps like this that really can't be used, instead of throwing them away, it's kind of cool what my employee did. She got a shell of an ottoman, like it's a big square, and we, instead of doing stuffing, we are putting our fabric scraps in there, and it's making this huge, like 36 by 36 kind of ottoman, and it's all scrapped up. So at some point I'll have to show you, but that's where these little scrap ends are going to go, in that ottoman. All right, guys, y'all have fun with these half square triangles and show them to me. Show them on the Facebook group that we have. I want to see how your half square triangles are turning out. All right, y'all have fun with this. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.